Hello, everybody. Welcome to MSP Unplugged's Tech Talk Tuesday, starting your 2023 year off right. I'm your host, Rick Smith. This is the place to learn tips, tricks, and strategies to help grow and support your IT service business. Whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey, this is the place for you. Let me introduce my co-host, a man who really needs no introduction. He's the one, the only, Mr. Paco Lebron. How are you today, sir?
Oh, you know how I like to say around these parts, Mr. Rick Smith, is better than good, better than most. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, doing great. Great day. Happy to be alive. Happy to be serving my customers and running my business. Yeah, that was BS. But anyway, first and foremost, I want to say everybody welcome. Thanks for joining us. And as you know, this is our time of the year now where things are starting to heat up. Things are starting to get a little busy. So Paco himself has a little brief spiel he'd like to give before we get started into today's topic. And that's going to be about his favorite topic, TechCon Unplugged.
Oh, that little event we got going on September 7th to the 10th at the Delta Hotels in Woodbridge, New Jersey. That's right, folks. You heard Woodbridge, New Jersey. Join us for an evening mixer as we kick off 2.5 days of content. Yes, you heard that right. 2.5 days worth of content to help better your business, to help save money, save time. Well, hit the mic so that you can go ahead and improve your services. That's how excited I am, folks. This is the show for any size IT solution provider. As we mentioned always in the intro, it may not in this one, but we have mentioned it in previous other ones. This is for emerging MSPs, or even if you are a veteran in the space. Go ahead and find us at TechConUnplugged.com. We do have our early bird tickets on sale for $199. Get them while you can. Again, that website is TechConUnplugged.com. And we hope to see you there.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm getting excited, very excited about it, particularly since it's in my neck of the woods, in my backyard, New Jersey. So I expect this to be, again, I'm going to say this all the time, the best TechCon ever because of location, because of our experience with it now. So we're looking forward to the event, and hopefully we'll see you there. Oh, Paco, today, we're talking about just starting our year off right. What are we doing? Everyone, I'll say this little spiel. Mentor of mine told me once, everyone waits to the end of the year or the beginning of the year, make New Year's resolutions or make resolutions. So that's when things are going to change. His words to me were, when you decide to make a change, make the change. Don't wait for an event. Don't wait for a special time, because all you do then is find a way to put it off. But we are at the beginning of the year. So, going a little contrary to what he said, it is a good time to, make those changes, make those, new initiatives, do something different or something better to improve our business. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Paco. Are there any New Year's or New Year, New You things that's going on at Prodigy Tech that you think will help to improve service and business over there?
We got a couple things going on here on the proverbial stove and pot, as you will. Yeah, we are, and I think that's a good point that you want, and, going back to your mentor's quote is that, any time is a good time type situation. You only need one little piece of event or one moment to really make that change. And why not make that change now? It just happens to be in the beginning of January. Could be you listening to this May 1st. You might be listening to this on a hot summer day on August 10th for some odd reason. Why you waiting almost 8 months to listen to this episode? I don't know, but this is going to be a good time for you to listen in and join us for the fun. But yeah, we have made a couple initiatives. We've kind of talked a little bit about this at the end of last year, and really trying to take inventory, assess, and really figure out what we want to kind of move forward with. We're making a big initiative on. We kind of took a lot of last year to really try and solidify who we are as a business internally, and can we provide the services that we can. And with an emphatic yes, we can, we've actually really buttoned down, and I can tell you with full confidence that I am better than the competition that is around me. But I don't believe in competition because there's enough work for everybody. But I am in that much of a confidence that we can offer a great solution to our clients. But the main issue we run into is we don't have that nice shiny look to us. We don't have the smoke and the fog and the light show. That's kind of what we're going to be working on this year, being that it's our 10-year anniversary. So that is what we're kind of focusing on, and then really driving the sales driven mindset this year, so we can make sure that we can impact other small business clients in our Chicagoland area. What about you? What are you doing over in the good old parts of Union/Newark, New Jersey?
Well, one of the things is we had a conversation a couple of episodes back with John Dubinsky when you guys were talking about the Unicorn Project and the Phoenix Project. The conversation.
Read them.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, the links to those books. But the one of the things that really hit me, and it's interesting how things happen, but it hit me after was something you said, and it was about not necessarily about the process, but about the reporting that you get from it when you were making those changes. Talking about the, for everyone that don't know, we'll link back to that episode, so I'm not going to rehash the conversation. But one of the things that I think was very important that Paco mentioned was the reporting you get out of it to see your efficiency, right? To see what's going on in your business and what's not. And I'll just, be honest, I focus so much on growth, so much on, where I'm trying to get to, that sometimes, we tend to sometimes maybe miss the smaller things. And some of the small things are, you've heard me say this, you have to know where you are or where you've come from to know where you're going, right? And reporting is part of that. So we've made a big initiative the beginning of the year to change that so that we get better reporting. So we've slimmed down our ticketing process to make it a little more efficient for us, so that we know exactly what we're getting, where we're falling short, where our problems are coming from, so that we can address those, and so that is a major goal right now, is to, first of all, get that implemented, and secondly, get from it what we need to, so we know what the next steps are in growing the business. So that is one of our key initiatives for 2023. We have a couple of more, but I'm just going to start with that one because I think that is the most important for us.
No, that makes sense. I think, everyone kind of always thinks about how do they grow their business? And a lot of times the concept is, we are trying to get more clients. That's the default answer of, I'm going to get more clients. That's how I'm going to make more money. But there's a lot of times you often are not looking at some of the other areas that you are in. This kind of what a good friend of mine usually says is that there's this, every business cares about the holy trinity of sales. It's increasing profit or increasing revenue, reducing cost, and expanding market share. So brand awareness, expanding your current foothold, things like that. So two things for those to kind of keep in mind is, you necessarily don't need to increase your client size. You can see if there's any opportunities with your current clients. Now, maybe that is a change of plans if you're offering a plan type solution. If you're doing an a la carte situation or services, you can add an additional service and kind of explain to them the importance of it. It is said that it's either 60% or 40%. I can't remember which side of the house of that goes, but there's a stat that says that it's much easier to upsell to your current clients than it is to close a new client. And that is because of the familiarity. There's a lot of relationships and rapport, and hopefully you have the clients that are going to trust and respect what you have to offer versus trying to nickel and dime you, because in my opinion they never really were your client to begin with, and they're just there for the cheap buck. So that's kind of where all that is to say for that. So there's a lot of great opportunity. My first year full time, that's what I made a significant increase in the growth of my revenue, was making certain changes and upselling to my current clients. And we were able to get that going. Now we operate on a plan situation now, but it allowed us to increase that revenue year over year just by working with our existing clients. And there is a book that Marvin B over at the IT Business Podcast has mentioned called Customers for Life. I can't think of the author right now. It's a great book. And it really talks about the life cycle of a client and how the long-term effect of it is just helping you on your revenue goals as you kind of move forward, and more importantly, increasing the margin and making that profit so you can have that nice year-end bonus so you can take home or just make a good living in general. The other item that a lot of people don't really associate with growth is reducing of costs. I think that's an often overlooked thing where everyone's trying to buy the new and shiny tool, but really what they want to try and do is really figure out how can you make the most of what you have. And there are big organizations that like set initiatives to their procurement people to make sure that they cut 20% of their expenses every year. And so this is an effort that for you to figure out, okay, what do I have right now that I don't need, or maybe I really do need, and kind of figure it out from there. You know, we had ended up consolidating our remote tools. Now we're using the integrated tool in our PSA as our primary remote support. And then back to that book that I mentioned before, Customers for Life, Carl Sewell. But you can go, we'll have that in the show notes as well. But also we add being able to figure out what you need and what you don't need is a very powerful procedure or method to go through, because, you know, I'll oftentimes, you know, and I'm trying to figure out the right word to say is like, you know, I give a bunch of ribs to Rick on, hey, why are you spending money on X when you can do it in this Y? And you already have it there. Why are you doing it? Oh, it's a better experience. It's, you know, and I'm 100% in agreement. It is a great experience. It is much better. It is much whatever. But can your business sustain itself right now and use that into another important piece of your business so that you can grow in the way you want to grow? Sometimes sacrifices need to be made. Sometimes you got to limit some things because things didn't work out the way you thought it was going to. It's okay to retreat back. It's okay to cancel. It's okay to limit and make some of those hard choices so that you can help the longevity of your business. So that's also something to consider as you're trying to make plans of how to grow your IT service business. What's your opinion on that, Mr. Smith?
I think it makes a lot of sense. It's you just have to again knowing where you are. Your biggest starting point is going to be where you are now, right? So you start where you are. So if you have customers, clients that you're doing business with, there's always an opportunity to expand that business. And they're your baseline, because from those clients as well, you're going to learn, basically you learn a lot of things, but you learn what works, what doesn't work, you know, where you should be, you know, from your experience as you grow, you learn where you should be going with them. And, you know, how you should help, how that will help grow your business. I will say this, one of the things I think is extremely important with that is, you know, with your current customers is a perfect opportunity to not only expand your revenue line, but it's also an opportunity to expand your knowledge and expand your processes and procedures. And what I mean by that is we all want to grow, like Paco said when we started, you know, we all want to increase profits, increase revenue, add new clients, you know, and essentially, you know, blow up to a whatever number you're looking for to get to, right? That doesn't work if you don't have processes in order, right? If you don't have processes in place, you can bring all the new clients you can get in. If you can't service them because you don't have, you know, the right processes to deal with them, just as fast as they've come in the door, you're going to find that they go out the door. So one of the things that working with your current crop does as well is to help you, you know, streamline, help you, you know, set initiatives that how you're going to deal with every client. And I think that's important, because if you don't know and you're making it up as you go along, you're essentially going to be spinning your wheels. And I'm saying this as someone who did it firsthand. Oh, I'll figure that out when I get bigger. I'll figure that out when I have more clients. I'll figure it out when I have this type of thing, or I hire more people. If you don't have those things in place, none of that works. The worst thing in the world is to bring on a new employee and you can't teach them anything because you don't have any processes and you don't know, and it's all in your head. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm a real example of that exact problem, and I didn't do it once; I did it twice. I actually hired 2 people at the same time, and I thought we had the processes in place, and my process was, all right, I have one person that's doing 3 roles. Person A, I need you to offload your 2 responsibilities to these 2 people, but also do your new role. And so that was a task in itself. And so when we were trying to, we were getting clients in, we were trying to do everything that we could. And unfortunately, our clients suffered because there was no efficiency, there was no processes. So things started getting dropped, it was just a huge mess in general altogether. And so it got to the point where we really needed to figure out what we wanted to do. And the first part was we had to stop sales. We had to stop taking on clients for 3-4 months till we got our act together. And then where I thought we had our act together, turned out we semi had our act together. So I had to go back again to get that fleshed out again. But being busy, being able to hope that things would go the way it's supposed to go, just didn't work out in the way that we were hoping for. That is a true statement on, you can't just do the things and hope it is all going to work when you really just haven't nailed down and figure out what's going to be your plan to kind of move forward.
You can't wing it. Basically, as much as we would like to, you can't. And, again, Paco talked about it from his experience, and I could talk about it from mine, which is, a lot more recent, but it's just, I spent 6 months with my first hire trying to basically get everything out that was in my head. You know what I mean? And I should have had that all out. I should have spent the first, before I had it hire, basically done that. Right. So, and it's just it's a lot of that goes on. So, again, as we're starting out talking about what we're going to do different or how we're going to run our business or what changes we're going to make, I think one of the things we all should take a look at, whether you're a one-person shop or you're leading a team for the journey, you should have processes in order. But you should have, really, you should have processes in order. And this goes for the brethren who are break fix or who are hybrid in between. All of it requires something written down so that this job could be, or your job could be duplicated when you bring someone on, or just so that you do it the right way every time. I think we've had conversations in the past about, when you don't have things written down and you try to go through, or even if it's a routine process, you sometimes miss steps, right? And then you realize later, if I missed step 5, now I'm on step 12 and I got to go back again and redo, some of these things again, which then becomes a time waster. So, it is my initiative so this goes to my second goal for the year, right? We're going to clean up the ticketing to get the reporting better, right? We're also going to work a lot more on getting the processes in order. Like I think I mentioned this before, I've been using Loom now to pass on to my tech David. So when I'm noticing he's asking me the same things over and over again, which means first and foremost, I haven't done a good job of either teaching it to him or there's no place for him to reference it. So now, and I noticed as well, I'm very hands-on, which I got to get out of. But so he asked me something, and rather than teaching him, I do it and say, okay, next time we'll go over it. So I've been doing it. I've done it, but now I use Loom and I record what I've done. And now he has a reference to it so that when there is an issue, he can reference back to that. So that helps out a lot. And it's a way of documenting, right? I'm not the sit down and let me write you 32 bullet points. I suck at it because I'll be on bullet point number 6 for 6 weeks. So it's a little easier for me to just pop on, do it, record it, send it to him, put it in our library, and then now he can get back to it. And it also helps me. I've noticed too, when I have to do certain things, I don't have to Google search it 150 times again on what did I miss? What did, so that helps me as well. So, so to continue with that is definitely a goal for this year, to have all of that laid out.
Yeah. I mean, I think that So yeah, so I mean, being able to document, process, and really trying to take yourself out of the things, right? Because a lot of us wear the same hat, right? So for those that have the privilege to pass it over to an employee, using software like Loom, you can even use Microsoft Teams, even Zoom to record yourself as you're doing these screen shares, things like that. If you don't want to come out from a resource perspective, but also, for you, as for those that are solo and you don't have the ability to offset it, and maybe you chose not to, or I should say hand off, because you don't want employees and you don't want another person inside the business. So, you can always outsource it, which, there are answering services and things of that nature to pick up the phone calls for you if you choose you don't want to be the one picking up the calls. But if you get to that point, then you gotta want to realize that, if you want to get some alleviation from all the hats you wear, you want to focus on automation and really trying to figure out how can you get the automated process to work for you. Like, can your PSA automatically charge all of the invoices that you need to bill out? Do you have a recurring invoice that you could just create so it just goes out, and that's the last thing you have to worry about is to get paid? Do you have an ability where if someone emails in that they get a automatic response that, hey, we're going to take care of it for you, we'll get to you in X amount of time, etc. Little things like that, and being able to automate. And obviously there's much more ways to automate these things depending on what tools and services you have. But these are all going to be big pivotal pieces for you to really focus and really figure out, all right, if I can automate X amount of things, then I get those off my plate. I have the ability to either get some wiggle room and get a breather, or you have the ability to take on something else that can help grow your business as well.
Exactly. And again, it doesn't matter your size. Just having the processes in order saves a lot of time and a lot of, just a lot of time and a lot of, so you don't have to continue to go back, try to reinvent, as they say, reinvent the wheel over and over again. So that's, two of the things that I've got going on here, just trying to make sure that, Renactus is run a little more efficiently. And I think, your point on the automation is excellent, and it goes back to, again, when you set up your processes, because those are things you probably only have to do once, and then, of course, if you find something you can add to it or tweak it a bit, but, again, you should only have to do it once, and that'll save you, a ton of time. So,
so one other thing I wanted to add on real quick was, as far as goals and things that you're adding on to, I think this is a great time to level up. I mean, I think there is this is a time of uncertainty, as everyone has been kind of, mentioning, and, we have our opinions of what we believe is coming, what the R word. But, I think that, you have the ability of being able to skill up and figure out what you want to do. So, how do you do that? There are plenty of great resources virtually. I think PAX 8 has a couple that are coming up. I think that there are a couple others that are having some virtual content as well. You can head over to our good friend Henry Tim. He has a great industry calendar on his website, henrytim.com, and that's with 2 M's. And you'll be able to see all the virtual or even local events that you can go to that can help skill up your business as well. But specifically, I have mentioned, the library is a great place. The Chicago Public Library for us has been a great resource, and I'll tell you why. I have mentioned in the past that that's what we use as our link inside of Data Axle, which used to be Reference USA, to help us with our list building. However, I just learned the other day is with a Chicago Public Library card, you can actually gain access to LinkedIn Learning. So now that you have access to LinkedIn Learning, you might have the ability to, get some networking skill sets in there. Go ahead and get things that you've been thinking about, processes, automation, operational things. I mean, LinkedIn Learning is so vast from what it was on the former lynda.com. So I would check your local public library, whether in your particular city or state, and see if they have the ability to gain access to that. That's been a huge help for us to upskill set all of our people here, but also it just allows me to get a little bit better on something that I've always wanted to do, but now I have a little bit of time to do so. So it's never an excuse not to get better as you kind of grow from that route.
It's an excellent point, particularly, solidifying yourself, hardening your skills, honing your skills, and like you say, level up. I think that's an excellent point. And I know we a lot of times say, running a business is hard. So a lot of times we don't necessarily always feel like we have the time to do all of these things that are, that we want to do, because we spend so much time, working in the business. And this comes back to that age old phrase about, are you working in the business or working on the business? And one of the things about, working on the business is working on yourself to help you improve, again, the processes, the services, the service, the ability to enhance your customer's experience, your customer satisfaction, things along that nature. So I think it's a great point. And I just think, when we say it, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind, I don't have time to sit in front of for an hour and do this or do that. But you do. You can make the time, because you spend an hour or whatever time you do on stuff that you probably either A, shouldn't be doing, the time wasters, or B, things, again, like going back to getting it right, things that you've done over and over again, but you're still, again, spinning your wheels on it. So I would just say, one of the things that, when going through this whole ticketing process with us, and I sat down with Latrice and we talked about this, and she was like, okay, when are you going to work on these things? And I told her, and she's like, okay, we're going to block your calendar for that. So, no phone calls, no meetings, no nothing else. So this is what you're supposed to be doing at that time, which makes a lot of sense, because then, if you're dedicated to it, you focus the time on it and you get it done, or you get as close to done as you can. But okay,
I'm just saying, God forbid, get you away from your phone and get you a solidified 2 hours to do something dedicated, boy, because you're a man of many hats, my friend.
Yeah, the brain goes like this all the time, and I'm working on it. But again, you have to focus on what's important, right? So, and you find out if you can take an hour, maybe 2 hours is too ambitious, maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes. Sometime you can use to focus on it. You'll be amazed what you can get done if you just put that straight time into it with no distractions, no anything else. You'll be amazed what you can get done. I want to shift gears. Okay, go. I'm sorry.
So just one thing to add to what you're saying as well is that, for those that are trying to figure out your goals or tasks or things of that nature, a lot of us tend to do task lists where, you're using a to-do, you're using a, Excel, Word, Notepad, whatever it is for your task. And you may feel overwhelmed on doing those tasks because the damn thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So what I've learned was two things from someone that told me about time management, and goal setting and completion is, one, put it on your calendar, as Rick said, because putting those tasks on your calendar is you're putting tangible time so that you can check them off the list. And which seems pretty self-explanatory, but for me, I didn't think about it that way. But two, don't think in hours or half hours or even in 15 minutes. Think in every 5 minutes. And so what ends up happening is that when you down tasks by 5 minutes, you can add more to your calendar, and you'll realize that you can get through things more often than you can when you block an entire schedule out and then you don't have room for anything else. So I've started to do that a lot in the last couple of years, and I've seen the improvement of my time management just because I see things in 5-minute increments than I do in the 15, 30, an hour, because I'm not giving all that dead time to someone else or to something else when a task and or a call should be completed. So sometimes it'll be like a 25-minute call because I feel like it should take 5-10 minutes each, and then it happens to go over. I have a little bit of buffer just in case. So something to think about as well as you're kind of doing your tasks and your goals is that when you think a little bit more into getting the most out of your time and efficiencies, those are two things that have helped me kind of put everything together on my task list.
Okay. That makes sense. I want to shift gears just a little bit, staying on the same, in the same mantra, but are you doing anything now when we talk about, like, we've talked about things we're doing to improve the business. Are you doing anything different as far as growing the business as far as new customers? Are you changing your marketing strategy or doing anything different marketing wise or?
Marketing wise, not yet. We are planning to do that. My account executive just came back from maternity leave, so she is starting to get ramped up on the sales tools and everything of that nature. So she is building up the lead lists. But the only marketing efforts that we are doing internally are just what we've done before, which is getting good reviews from raving fans, from our client success manager. And then we have our newsletter that we're introducing every month that gives basically a tip of something that's going on for that month, and then some things referral wise that's going on from there. So for example, we have a thing this month that says, you know, why is the fan so loud on your computer? And so we have a little bit of we have a blog on that. We linked it to there. Should it be more? And our thing is that we say that the newsletter should only take 60 seconds for them to kind of skim through and read. And then if they want to go into more details, they can. And then we put on the bottom, hey, did you know that you get a referral credit every time you refer a client or a colleague of yours and we close? So it's on all of the invoices, but we also reiterate that in the marketing newsletters as well that we send out, just as a matter of just more of the simple touches that we have for our internal clients. For those that sign up for our a regular newsletter in general, that one is a little bit more tailored to more generic content that's on our blogs anyway.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned that that I would like to start doing more of is the messaging on you know, on already, I don't know how you say it, but on opportunities that are already there. Clients get invoices every month. They get newsletters if you're sending them. At the minimum, they get an invoice, right? You can use that for messaging as well. Like Paco said, you get referral credits if you know you recommend someone. Another good thing is, as Paco talked about, getting reviews. Now, you know, you can put a link in, or, you know, that should be on we've started putting that link in for reviews on every, after the tickets are completed. When they get that ticket closed, your ticket's been closed, blah, blah, blah. You know, and this is only for people who have not given us reviews, that will go. It'll give them a link to Google. But one of the things that you mentioned, I'm referencing some shows back, but about getting reviews, is more so than just Google. Is, you know, you use Clutch. What is the other one you use?
Upcity.
Upcity. I have found that, you know, when Paco first mentioned those, which I guess was about maybe 6-8 months ago now, he was talking about it, I had never heard of either. And that's just because I hadn't been, you know, all I thought was, let's load up on Google reviews and be good. You know what I mean? But I had never heard of either one of those. But as I investigated and started to learn more about them, I realized that is where businesses go. You know, that is where, you know, they are from there getting more referrals from their peers, you know, people who do what they do or run businesses more so. And they probably tend to trust those a lot more. So I think there's a great opportunity there. And it was amazing when I first looked, and I just went to, I didn't realize it was so many MSPs in New Jersey who had reviews. And I was one of them I was one of the MSP who did not have reviews. So, you know, it's been a goal of mine now. So I think we should, you know, it just gives us an idea of thinking about Clutch, thinking about Upcity to help to, you know, get your clients to get reviews. And I think Clutch is the one that will call. Is it Clutch that they will schedule and call?
Correct. Yeah. Clutch, Clutch.co. They have a program where you can actually schedule phone calls from their team to call your client to actually do the review. And then they'll post it on your behalf, which I think that's kind of brilliant, because for two reasons. One, you have clients that are so busy that they don't have the time to type out a review, but also B, for those that are either not maybe computer savvy or, you know, not trying to follow a link and go through all this, they made it very easy for them to share the feedback of a business onto their sites. But really quick on why Clutch.co and Upcity are such an impactful review sites for us. I was getting a big problem, and I've mentioned this in the past, where we used to be a break fix computer repair shop in the beginning. And so that was where a majority of our reviews were coming from. And we have quite a bit. And so everyone that would find us would always see that we did computer repair. So then they would go ahead and reach out to us and they say, hey, we have this LCD screen cracked, or hey, we have whatever. And we've tried all our best to like notate it in the comment side. We've put it on our website. We've done everything we could to show that we just don't do break fix since now going on 4 years. And so but the moment we made that shift, we noticed that our calls did drop coming in. And so, you know, there's a lot of people that are buying the keywords and the ad space for IT support Chicago, managed services, blah, blah, blah. And so a good friend of mine, Joanna Muroff, over at it was formerly MXO Tech, now Nativa, because they recently just got acquired, where she told me, hey, you need to be on Clutch. So for me, I always assumed that Clutch.co was for developers and app software makers. I didn't realize that that was for IT consulting firms. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and create it. And she's like, you need to be on there. And so sure enough, the moment I put my stuff on there, and the moment and then UpCity, I guess, saw that I put my stuff on Clutch, because UpCity competes with Clutch. They were like, hey, toss it over on our side. And, you know, they have awards and things like that for most reviewed, and that's why they get competitive. But what's crazy is that, or what I should say, what's unbelievable is that when I noticed our forms are in HubSpot, we use the starter package for HubSpot, and we use the forms from there. We can see where they're coming from, and it will tell us, you know, organic search is what led to this form fill. UpCity was the destination, the source that came from this. So it was end up working where we saw more and more people were reaching out for managed services, IT support, cybersecurity services due to those systems. But what I also looked at was, it's not a set it and forget it. On my profile, I noticed that it was IT support on my profile side, but on the other side, I noticed that a lot of other listings were saying cybersecurity. So now I had to figure out, well, I'm definitely offering cybersecurity, and I'm cybersecurity first. Why haven't I just figured out how to do that? So it's one of those where reviews are such an impactful thing, especially if you can't do it manually. Trying to get it automated is such a great way to go as far as you trying to get some good impact and growth of your business.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. So, and I think it's something we should all definitely take a look at to make sure that, you know, as we are moving along, you know, it's where we get to. Again, like I said, I hadn't even heard of either until you said it, until you mentioned it to me. And so it's definitely a good place to start, and, you know, a good place to be working towards. Again, it's like, you know, we're doing everything in stages. I am not, until we get all of these two initiatives done, I'm holding off on the marketing right now. Now, again, we put a timeline on that. So when that timeline is done, we move on to the next stage, which would be to go back to the marketing. You know, and I know some people say you should never stop marketing, but at the same time, you got to be prepared for what comes, because again, it's a disaster if a client comes in and you do not have the systems in place to take care of them. So it is one of those, you know, scenarios where I would say, be prepared, be ready. Don't, you know, Paco, again, I referenced a lot on what Paco has said because I, you know, as a member of this show, you know, I try to give as much good advice, but I learn just as much as I give, right? And one of the other things, you know, Paco and John talked about is getting to good as opposed to getting the perfect. And I know I was very guilty of that. This has to be exactly right before we execute it, before we put it into place, before I do it. And what that leads to is just never getting it done, because you always are chasing perfect, right? So, you know, we've adopted that mantra, just let's get it to good, let's put it out, and then we learn from there and make our tweaks. And it's you get more information that way as well, right? You can gather more, you know, what doesn't work and what works. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say one other thing, you know, and maybe I'll try and see if I could steal Matt Lee to come on the show as well, is that Matt also says get to good. But the thing about what he says is that, and it didn't even dawn on me, is that especially with this whole industry with cyber insurance and trying to prove that you're doing what you're doing, is document what the heck you're doing right now.
Right.
You're going to get so much more. I don't know if leeway is the word, but you'll be viewed as you've documented your baseline, and it's probably total junk. And you're showing that you've improved, but you have the documentation showing how you've improved, will really go a long way when you're trying to prove what you're doing with auditors, cyber insurance applications, things of that nature. So definitely the whole point is you just got to start, and you have to get to good. When you can get to good, then you can start thinking about all the other stuff, and figuring out how to get into maybe even zero trust, or figuring out other harder things that are, and I say harder for your clients to accept, right? And there are some that have started that as day one, and more props to you, but you got to get somewhere, because if you're nowhere, you're not going to get anywhere anytime fast.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a word when you say that you get to good and then you build from there. It's momentum. You build momentum basically as you get where you get to good, and then you make those tweaks to like as you saying, to show where you've come from and where you are now. That builds momentum, right? It gets a little easier. You find yourself not spending as much time on it as well. So it is, where again, one of the, again, I got maybe Paco's my new mentor, but because there's a lot of things that I learned from him and John that it may not click immediately, and then sometime later I'm thinking about it and I say, hey, that's a great idea, and I'll think it as if it's my own idea, then I realize later they told me that, you know what I mean? They've said this to me. So again, it's just really getting started, knowing where you're trying to go, get there, or get a piece of that, and then build on it, build the momentum, and things get a lot easier. So, those are, Paco, we know we're about to come down on the time frame. So those, for me, those three things: fixing our ticketing and reporting. Oh God, what was the second? Oh, just fixing our efficiencies and making sure that we are I am documenting what's going on. Again, we use a video process of it, but documenting that so that we can have processes in order. And third is working on the marketing and the referral portion of this to grow the business. So those are the three things that I think for 2023 are my ultimate goals. Those I think will lead to all of the other financial goals and all the other things that just helps to improve all of those things. But that's where I'm at for 2023. You want to sum up where you are? And
what you have said sounds good for those that don't want to get the summary. You better listen to the whole episode and rewind. Out some good facts and some good details. But I'll throw it back to you, Mr. Smith.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up here. Remember, again, tickets are on sale for TechCon Unplugged 2023, September 7th to the 10th, Woodbridge, New Jersey. TechConUnplugged.com is where you can get your tickets. Again, want to thank you for listening. You can join us. The show is posted every Tuesday and Thursday. The video podcast is on youtube.com/MSPUnplugged.com. To help us out here, we would appreciate if you do like, subscribe, hit the notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us on the go. We're on your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. For Paco and I, we want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.